Peace, brothers and sisters. This is Dr. Sadiki Baye, and once again, really do appreciate you following and reviewing my videos. And we are in reference to the diets of the Bible, the beginning of our diets, and the diets that we have today, which we became garbage disposals. It is what it is. And that's why I want to give you references of what I mean by what I'm saying. Now, we went from Genesis and it say, let the food from the tree be your meat. It didn't say animals. So we're going to go over to Daniel and see what Daniel has to do. How does he reference and reverence Genesis? And Daniel is a bad boy. He is our ancestor. And Daniel is not so much a person. Daniel is a mindset because Daniel means God is my judge. And if I transform and renew my mind into a Daniel, the nature of a Daniel, then God is my judge. That's how simple it is. You don't have to be spooked up about that. To me, it doesn't even matter if there was ever a Daniel. But I want to know what Daniel means. And Daniel means God is my witness. So I can be a Daniel. You can be a Daniel. But they ain't going to tell you that. They're going to give you all of these stories like it belongs to somebody else. But no, it belongs to all of us. And I'm going to give you some wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to let you know that what I'm saying has some truth to it. This is not about Sadiki. This is about the team. It's all about the team. So let's do all we can to enjoy the journey. But we must be patient, and patience is very difficult when it comes to yourself. Respecting yourself is not that easy. Loving yourself is not that easy. That's why we have to be intentional with our efforts, especially when we've been had. All of us been bit by the same dog that had rabies. So we must not fight each other. We must find that dog and do a job on that dog. So we must be team players. Now let's get into Daniel. Now we went from Daniel the the third chapter, the first and second chapter. Now we're going to go to the third chapter. But before we do, I'm going to give you the last two verses of chapter 2 in Daniel. Open up your Bibles and follow me. This is not about Sadiki. This is about us. Always. I'm a team player, and I always will be. So let's understand that Daniel means God is my judge. So let's go to the Daniel, the second chapter, the last two verses, which is 48 and 49. And it says what? Then the king made Daniel a great man and gave him many great gifts and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon and the chief of governors over all the wise men of Babylon. Don't forget, the Jews were hated. But because Daniel interpreted King Nebuchadnezzar's dream, then he made him second in command. That's the same as what they did to Joseph. Let's read the story of Joseph also. So the Bible is nothing but a book of references, experiences. So we can be that. They are mindsets. Name means nature. So let's understand that. So be careful what you give yourself, the name you give yourself and your children, because they could be curse words. So let's study to show yourself approval. 49, it says, Then Daniel requested of the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon, but Daniel sat in the gate of the king. Now let's understand that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were followers of Daniel. They were Jews too, but they were young boys. They were teenagers. So Daniel was actually their mentor because Daniel was an older guy. He was in his 70s or 80s or something like that. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were teenagers. Study to show yourself approval. You don't have to go on what Sadiki says. I'm just giving you a reason and a direction to go ahead on and study it yourself. Prove it to yourself. So let's go to chapter 3. Nebuchadnezzar, the king, made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. Number 2. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king set together the princes, the governors, and the captains, the judges, and treasurers, the counselors, and the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Now, he invited everybody that's in Babylon. And number 3, it said, then the princes, the governors, the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces were gathered together unto dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar, the king, had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Now we're going to see what happens to this. Number 4. Then an herald cried aloud to you, it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that at what time ye hear the sound of the hornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the sorcery, the dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. Now they worshiping idols here. Number 6, and whoso falleth not down and worship shall the same hour be cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Wow. Number 7, therefore, at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the hornet, the flute, the harp, or the sackbut, the psaltery, and all kinds of music, all the people, the nations, and the languages fell down and worshiped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar, the king, has set up. Oh, yeah. You better worship what Nebuchadnezzar said, worship. Do what he tell you to do. So also it says, therefore, at the time certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. See, the Jews were hated. We are the line of Judah. Daniel was of the line of Judah. The people, black folks, are from the line of Judah. Number 9, they spake and said to the king Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. Thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man that shall hear the sound of the hornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, and the dulcimer, and all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. Number 11, and whoso falleth not down and worshipeth, that he shall be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. That sounds like prison today, or juvenile center. Number 12, and there are certain Jews who thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Okay, let's see what happened to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Because they didn't fall down to Nebuchadnezzar's god, their image, their statues, and all this nonsense. Okay, number 13. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Number 15. Now if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the hornet, the flute, the harp, the sackbut, the psaltery, the dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made well. But if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? You're going to see in a minute. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. Number 17, if it be not our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. Number 18, but if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. That's what we do. We just go along with the nonsense. These old greasy spoon, pork eating, chillin' eating jokers, man, sweating all over the place, talking nothing, trying to intimidate people. And if you don't go along with their nonsense, then they'll give you the Jesus thing. Oh, Jesus gonna get you and all this and all that. Don't go for that nonsense. It's all according to your beliefs. Remember that. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image that thou hast set up. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury. Oh, he was mad. You're not going to obey me. You're not going to do what I tell you. Whatever. Then it says, and the form of his image, of his vision, his visage, was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it was wont to be heated. So they turned it up 7 times. Oh, he was mad. You don't disobey me. You better do what I tell you to do, or else. So number 20, and he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army, and bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. 21, then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. See, but they weren't scared. They weren't cowards like most of us have become. 22, therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew these men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake, and said unto his counselors, did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? This is what he asked them. They answered and said unto the king, true, O king. He answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Woo! That's power. When you unify your energy, then that's power. No one can touch you because you're full of the power of God that you believe in, not somebody else's. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire. And the princes, governors, and captains, and the kings, and the counselors, being gathered together, saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power. When you believe in God and you transform into the mindset of Daniel, which is God is my witness or my judge, fire can't burn you, fire can't burn you, water can't drown you, and guns can't shoot you. But do you believe that? But obviously they did. And it says here, and the princes, governors, and captains, and the king's counselors, being gathered together, saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was an hair of their head singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them. Wow! The fire did not even touch them. And don't forget that Nebuchadnezzar turned it up 7 times more. Man, that's power. That's power. Your beliefs have to be way up there. And obviously it was. Experiences is nothing but opportunities to prove to yourself where you are. It's all good. How would you even know yourself if it wasn't for an experience? Anybody can talk a good game. Number 28. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now he was even transformed. He was so impressed. They say we can't change nobody. But guess what? Your power can be you can be so powerful that your power can influence a change in people. That's some serious power. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who had sent his angels and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word and yield their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any god except their own God. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they held their ground. It didn't even matter. They say, hey, do your thing, and you're going to see that you can't even touch this. I'm putting it in everyday terms. Number 29, they say, Therefore, I made a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces. Wow. Now, there was a great turnaround of King Nebuchadnezzar. He was extremely impressed that anybody who even think bad about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego should be cut in pieces. And their houses shall be made a dunghill. And what's a dunghill? Dunghill is a she-it hill. She-it, and all she-it smells, it stinks. And that's what most of us are stuck in. We got to come up out of that before it dry up and get us stuck for real. Because there is no other God that can deliver after this sort. Wow. There's some power there. All praises to our God, who looks like us and who we are in his image and his likeness. When you look in the mirror, there it is. Number 30, then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. The king was so impressed, he put them in a high position in Babylon. Whoo! God will lift you up. He will lift you up. Now, these are long chapters here, but I want to see if we can get through chapter 4 also. Now, Nebuchadnezzar the king, unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto them, unto you. I thought it good to show the signs and wonders that the high God hath wrought towards me. How great are his signs, and how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. But somebody have to initiate it. And you can't be no coward. You can't be no pushover. You can't be no punk. No sissy that we used to call it down south. Number 4, Nebuchadnezzar was at rest in mine house and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me, now here's another dream that he had now. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. Therefore made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Now here we go again. And we're going to find out if they can interpret it or not, or who do they go to do that again. Then came in the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers, and I told the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But at the last, Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belteshazzar, according to the name of my God, of Nebuchadnezzar's God. He changed Daniel's name to Belteshazzar, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And before him I told a dream, saying, O Belteshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy God is in thee, and no secret troubleth thee, tell me the visions of my dream that I have seen, and the interpretation thereof. Thus were the visions of mine hid in my bed. I saw, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached into heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. Now this is an important one in 12. The leaves thereof were fair, and the fruit thereof much. And in it was meat for all. Fruit, meat again? We have to listen, brothers and sisters. We can't go on these chilling, eating, animal eating people who justifying that all you got to do is pray over it. Well, you can pray all you want. Poison is poison. So my thing is we must transform our minds into our original nature, which is the fruit from the food from the tree is our meat. That's fruit. Fruitarian. And the beasts of the field had shadow under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwelt in the bruise thereof, and all flesh was fed of it. Now, bough. That's how you pronounce it. Bough means it's the branch of a tree. So put it together, brothers and sisters. We need to know etymology, the original meaning of words, and stop going on emotions or going on what somebody just telling us. He cried aloud and said, thus hew down the tree. And hew means striking the tree with such a hard object like an axe or something sharp. That's etymology again. And cut off his branches, shake off his leaves, and shatter his fruit. Let the beasts get away from under it, and the fowls from his branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump of his roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts in the grass of the earth. 16. Let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast or heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over him. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of heaven. Now that means having the least morals. When you base somebody, they're low in their minds. You're putting them down. They really put themselves down. They have low morals. Check it out for yourself. Number 18. This dream was King Nebuchadnezzar had seen. Now, though, O Belteshazzar, declare the interpretation thereof, for as much as all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known unto me the interpretation, but thou art able. Wow, he believed in Daniel, who's supposed to have been a slave, which we were to a degree, but the ones who stand up, you're not no slave no more, you all that, and they will bow to you sooner or later. For the spirit of the holy gods is in thee. And Daniel, all right now, let's go here now. What about it? And Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, was astonished for 1 hour, and his thoughts troubled him. The king spake and said, Belteshazzar, let not the dream or the interpretation thereof trouble thee. Belteshazzar answered and said, My lord, the dream be to them that hate thee, and the interpretation thereof to thine enemies. The tree that thou sawest, now he's interpreting it now. The tree that thou sawest, which grew and was strong, whose height reached into the heaven, and the sight thereof to all the earth. 21, whose leaves were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all. Meat for all living beings. The human being, the animals, the fowls, the fish, all eat the same thing from the earth. We are earthly people. That's why when you pass on, your body goes back to the earth. But your 98% goes back to the source, the source, the spiritual source, which is transformed into another thing. You can't kill energy. It just transforms. You can't destroy it. So we are all that. It is thou, O king. Let's go to 22. It is thou, O king, that art grown and become strong, for thy greatness is grown, and reaches unto heaven, and thy dominion to the end of the earth. He's interpreting it. And whereas the king saw a watcher in it, and an holy one coming down from heaven, and saying, hew the tree down. I mean, cut it down. Hit the tree and cut it down, and destroy it. Yet leave the stump of the roots thereof in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts of the field, till 7 times pass over him. This is the interpretation, O king, and this is the decree. The decree of what? The decree of, let me turn this page here, because it's getting deep here. Decree of the Most High, which is come upon my Lord the King, that they shall drive thee from men, And thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, and they shall make thee to eat grass as oxen. And they shall wet thee with the dew of heaven. And 7 times shall pass over thee, till thou know that the Most High ruleth, in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whosoever he will. And whereas they commandeth to leave the stump of the tree roots, thy kingdom shall be sure unto thee. After that thou shalt have known that the heavens do rule. These are the interpretations of his dream. You can go back over it again. I'm going through it quickly, but I'm giving you some direction that you can go ahead on, and an inspiration to go ahead on and check it out for yourself. Study to show yourself approval. You don't have to go on what Dr. Sadiki say, because I got it. So whether you embrace it or not, I got my blessings by telling you. Number 27, whereas, O king, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee, and break off thy sins by righteousness, and thine iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if it may be a lengthening of thy tranquility. All this came upon the king Nebuchadnezzar. And the end of the 12th month he walked in the palace of the king of Babylon. The king spake and said, Is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom by the might of my power, and for the honor of my majesty? Well, the word was in the king's mouth. There fell a voice from heaven saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee. And they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. And they shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomever soever he will. Now, this is what you call mercy. And mercy is nothing but the benefit of the doubt. Now, he's giving you the benefit of the doubt, giving you an opportunity to straighten yourself out before it's too late. That's what mercy and grace is. We have to understand that, because we take that for granted. Big time. God, if you get me out of this, I'll never do that again. Liar. Every time something calms down, we go right back at it again in another kind of way. There's many ways to get to the same place. Then the same hour was the thing fulfilled with Nebuchadnezzar. And he was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagles' feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. Wow. He was old, down and out. And at the end of the days, Nebuchadnezzar lifted up mine eyes unto heaven, and mine understanding returned unto me, and I blessed the Most High, and I praised and honored him that liveth forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. Wow, he was transformed. He was a believer now. So why do we have to go that far to become a believer? Just go there. Don't try. Do it. Number 35. And all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth. And none can stay his hand, or say unto him, What doest thou? What doest thou? At the same time, my reason returned unto me, and for the glory of my kingdom, my honor and brightness returned unto me, and my counselors and my lords sought unto me, and I was established in the kingdom, and excellent majesty was added unto me. And this is the last verse in chapter 4. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven. all whose works are true, and his ways judgment, and his ways judgment, and those that walk in pride he is able to abase. We have to humble ourselves, brothers and sisters. Humility is the answer to everything. We're too stiff, and we need to humble ourselves. If it ain't working, it ain't working. If you got to force it, it ain't real anyway. So we have to really humble ourselves and know that God is real. And when you look in the mirror, and if you're in the image and likeness of God, our Father, then there it is. We don't have to be all spooked up about that. They misled us, misguided us, and misdirected us, and they spooked us up. If I can intimidate you and put fear in you, I can tell you anything and you'll go for it. We have to man up, mind up, woman up, and join forces, and then everybody else is whatever. It's almost like water rolling off a duck's back. We have to be waterproof. Or if we have our armor on, if somebody throw a rock at you, you might feel it, but it won't penetrate. We're all there, brothers and sisters. Let's go ahead on and shine some light on our journey and stop moving in the dark of ignorance, of stupidity, of being a coward, of being scared, of being fearful. They put that in us. The enemy did that. And some of us even turn into being the enemy because of that. Oh, don't rock the boat. Well, my thing is, that's true. Don't rock the boat. Hey, look, how about turning it over? Sometimes we got to turn it over. We got to do what we need to do to regain our balance. According to your beliefs, it is done unto you. I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. We got each other's back. And if we don't, then we need to work at it. Love ye one another. Brothers and sisters, it's been an honor and a privilege to share with you what I've been blessed with from the Creator and our ancestors. Keep your lights on and keep them bright at all times. Stay strong and keep your faith where it belongs. That's the challenge. Do your best and let God do the rest. You got to know when to hold and know when to fold. Don't be scared anymore. Keep it moving. We have nothing to lose. We have everything to gain. I love you, I bless you, and I want you to prosper. Dr. Sadiki Baye, Raw Food for Thought. Peace.